Welcome to 2024, a year when your morning avocado toast could be beamed directly to your front door by Jeff Bezos, riding a self-aware drone, while in other parts of the world, people are struggling to find clean drinking water. It's a year of stark contrasts, with wealth concentrated in the hands of the few, while millions languish in poverty. And look, we all know the world isn't fair. That's not exactly breaking news. But what we're going to unpack today is how this disparity, this chasm of inequality, is being shaped by one country in particular, China. This isn't about pointing fingers or playing the blame game. This is about understanding the complex dynamics at play, the high-stakes game of chess being played on a global scale, with the world's poorest countries often caught in the middle. So buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the top 10 poorest countries in the world, and trust me, China's presence looms large. Yemen. Remember that name from such classic travel brochures as "Please get me out of this war zone." Yemen is often considered the world's worst humanitarian crisis, where children are more familiar with the sound of gunfire than birdsong. That's Yemen in a nutshell, ravaged by years of civil war. China provides some humanitarian aid, but also cozies up to factions fueling the conflict. Madagascar. You know, that place with the talking animals. In real life, the animals aren't talking, and the situation is far less whimsical. Madagascar is a country of stunning natural beauty, but it's also a place where poverty is deeply entrenched. Imagine this: you're a farmer in southern Madagascar. The rains have failed for the third year in a row. Your crops are withered, your livestock are dying, and your family is starving. Liberia, a nation still haunted by the ghosts of civil war and the Ebola crisis. It's a country where the scars of the past run deep, and the path to a brighter future feels as elusive as a stable internet connection. Imagine walking through the streets of Monrovia, the capital city. You see crumbling buildings, remnants of a bygone era, now home to families struggling to make ends meet. The infrastructure is fragile, the economy is shaky, and the shadow of corruption looms large. But amidst the challenges, there's a glimmer of hope. China, with its insatiable appetite for resources, has set its sights on Liberia's iron ore and rubber plantations. They're pouring in money, building roads, and offering loans. Now, here's the catch. These loans often come with strings attached, like requiring Chinese companies to be awarded construction contracts or giving Chinese firms preferential access to resources. It's a deal that can leave Liberia vulnerable, potentially deepening its dependence rather than fostering genuine growth. Chapter 4. Malawi, Land of the Warm Heart, Cold Realities. Malawi, the warm heart of Africa, known for its friendly people and stunning Lake Malawi, which, fun fact, holds more fish species than any other lake in the world. But behind this idyllic facade lies a harsh reality. Imagine a classroom, if you can call it that, crammed with over 100 students, some sharing tattered textbooks, others with nothing but the hope that education will be their ticket to a better life. That's the reality for many in Malawi, where poverty casts a long shadow over the future. China, however, sees opportunity in Malawi's struggles. They're investing in agriculture, building roads, and offering loans for development projects. On the surface, it seems like a lifeline, but here's the rub. These projects often come with a hidden cost. Local farmers are being displaced to make way for Chinese agricultural ventures. Jobs created often go to Chinese workers, leaving locals with little to show for the supposed development boom. Niger, on the edge of survival. Niger, land of vast deserts, scorching sun, and the unrelenting grip of poverty. It's a place where survival is a daily struggle, where the elements themselves seem to conspire against human progress. Imagine a nomadic herder, his family by his side, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the Sahel. But the rains have become erratic, the pastures are drying up, and their way of life is under threat. Into this precarious landscape steps China, offering a lifeline, or so it seems. They're investing in infrastructure, building roads and railways to transport Niger's uranium, a key ingredient in, you guessed it, nuclear power. But at what cost? The extraction of uranium, while potentially lucrative, carries significant environmental risks. And what happens when the uranium runs out? Will China still be there to support Niger's development? or will it move on to the next resource-rich nation, leaving behind a trail of broken promises? Mozambique, recovering from disaster, facing uncertainty. Mozambique, a country of breathtaking coastlines, vibrant culture, and a resilience forged in the face of adversity. But just as Mozambique was beginning to recover from years of civil war, disaster struck. Imagine a cyclone, ripping through villages, tearing apart homes, and leaving behind a trail of devastation. That was the reality for Mozambique in 2019, and the scars of that disaster are still visible today. China, never one to miss an opportunity, has stepped in with aid and investment. They're rebuilding infrastructure, constructing roads and bridges, and offering loans for reconstruction efforts. But here's the thing about those loans. They need to be repaid with interest. And as Mozambique struggles to get back on its feet, saddled with debt, one can't help but wonder if these loans are a lifeline or a potential noose, tightening its dependence on China. The Democratic Republic of Congo. A country so rich in natural resources, it should be a paradise. Diamonds, gold, coltan, you name it, the DRC has it. And yet, it's consistently ranked among the poorest countries in the world. How is that even possible? Imagine this. You live in a village surrounded by lush rainforests, the air thick with humidity, the ground beneath your feet potentially hiding a fortune in minerals. But instead of prosperity, you see poverty, conflict, and exploitation. China, with its insatiable appetite for raw materials, has been quick to capitalize on the DRC's vast mineral wealth. They've poured in billions of dollars, securing mining rights and building infrastructure. But here's the kicker. These deals are often shrouded in secrecy, lacking transparency and accountability. Corruption is rampant, human rights abuses are rife, and the Congolese people are often left with little more than environmental degradation and the bitter aftertaste of exploitation. Central African Republic, a nation held hostage. The Central African Republic, a country trapped in a cycle of violence, poverty, and despair. Armed groups roam freely, humanitarian crises are the norm, and society is torn apart. Imagine living in constant fear, never knowing when the next attack might come. That's the heartbreaking reality for millions in the Central African Republic. Burundi, landlocked and left behind. Burundi, a small, densely populated nation in East Africa, often overlooked and forgotten. It's a country where poverty is endemic, where access to basic services is a luxury, and where the weight of history hangs heavy. Imagine a rural community nestled among rolling hills, where life revolves around subsistence farming, where the days are long and the rewards are few. That's the reality for many in Burundi, a country grappling with the legacy of conflict, corruption, and underdevelopment. China, with its Belt and Road Initiative, has extended its reach to Burundi, offering loans and investment in infrastructure projects, including roads, energy, and telecommunications. But here's the question. Are these projects truly benefiting the people of Burundi, or are they primarily serving China's strategic interests? Critics argue that these loans often come with opaque terms, potentially pushing Burundi further into debt and dependence. South Sudan, a nation on the precipice. South Sudan, the world's youngest nation, born out of hope and a hard-fought struggle for independence. But instead of peace and prosperity, South Sudan has been plagued by civil war, famine, and unimaginable suffering. Imagine a generation scarred by conflict, children forced to become soldiers, families torn apart by violence, their dreams shattered by the brutal realities of war. That's the heartbreaking reality in South Sudan, a nation teetering on the brink. China, a major investor in South Sudan's oil sector, has found itself caught in the crossfire. They've attempted to mediate peace talks, provided humanitarian aid, and continued to invest in infrastructure projects, hoping to stabilize the situation and protect their interests. But here's the dilemma. China's economic interests in South Sudan's oil often clash with its stated commitment to peace and stability. Critics argue that China's continued support for the South Sudanese government, despite its human rights record, undermines efforts to achieve a lasting peace. A shared future. So, there you have it. A glimpse into the complex and often contradictory relationship between China and the world's poorest countries. It's a story of opportunity and exploitation, of aid and indebtedness, of promises made and promises broken. The rise of China as a global superpower presents both challenges and opportunities for the developing world. The question is, can we ensure that this relationship is mutually beneficial, that development is sustainable, and that prosperity is shared? The choices we make today will determine the kind of world we build tomorrow. Let's choose wisely.